Caitlin Clark just broke another WNBA record, and this one has never been done before in league history. Not by Diana Taurasi, not by Sue Bird, not by Candace Parker, not by anyone. Clark is the first player in WNBA history to record 20 points and 5 assists in each of the first 5 games of a season. 5 straight games. 20 points and 5 assists minimum in every single one. It sounds simple, but no one in WNBA history has ever done it. Not the league's all-time leading scorer, not the greatest point guard to ever play, not Hall of Famers with decades of dominance. No one, until Caitlin Clark. On Friday night against the Golden State Valkyries, Clark put up 22 points and 9 assists in a 90-82 win. And with that performance, she officially broke a record that stood for the entire history of the WNBA. Let me break down what this record means, why it's so impressive, how Clark did it, and why this is just the latest example of her rewriting the WNBA history books in ways no one has ever seen before. Let's start with the record itself. Caitlin Clark is now the first player in WNBA history to record 20 points and 5 assists in each of the first 5 games of a season. That means through her first 5 games this year, Clark has hit that threshold every single time. Against Washington, she put up 32 points and 10 assists in overtime. Against Seattle, 21 points and 10 assists. Against Golden State on Friday, 22 points and 9 assists. Every single game, she's hit that threshold. 20 points, 5 assists, minimum. And no one in WNBA history has ever started a season with that kind of consistency. 5 games. 5 times she's cleared 20 points and 5 assists. And no one in WNBA history has ever done that before. Now let's talk about why this record is so hard to achieve. It's not just about having 1 or 2 great games, it's about consistency. It's about showing up at a high level every single night for 5 straight games to start the season. 20 points is a high-scoring threshold. Most players in the WNBA don't average 20 points per game over an entire season. And 5 assists means you're not just scoring, you're also facilitating and setting up your teammates. You're doing both at an elite level. Every single game, for 5 straight games. That's incredibly difficult, because even the best players have off nights. Even Hall of Famers have games where they only score 15 points, or games where they only get 3 assists. But Caitlin Clark hasn't had an off night yet. She's been dominant in every single game. And that consistency is what makes this record so impressive. And here's what makes it even more remarkable. Clark is doing this in her 3rd year in the league. She's not a 10-year veteran. She's not a player in her prime with years of experience. She's 24 years old, and she's already breaking records that legends of the game never came close to. Diana Taurasi never did this. Sue Bird never did this. Candace Parker never did this. Maya Moore never did this. None of the all-time greats have ever started a season with 5 straight games of 20 points and 5 assists. But Caitlin Clark just did. And she's doing it while carrying the offensive load for the Indiana Fever. She's the primary ball handler. She's the leading scorer. She's running the offense. And she's still putting up these numbers night after night. Let's talk about Friday's game specifically. The Indiana Fever hosted the Golden State Valkyries at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And this was a big game for Clark, because she was coming back from missing Wednesday's game against Portland with back soreness. It was the first game she'd sat out all season. There were questions about whether she'd be rusty, whether her back would hold up, whether missing a game would throw off her rhythm. But Clark answered all those questions immediately. She came out firing. 22 points on 7 for 15 shooting, 9 assists, 4 made threes. She controlled the game from start to finish, and she led the Fever to a come-from-behind victory, because the Fever were down at halftime. Golden State led by 7 at the break. The Valkyries were playing physical. They were hunting ISO on Clark defensively. They were making things difficult, but in the second half, the Fever flipped the script. They outscored Golden State 53-38 after halftime. They locked in defensively. They executed offensively. And Caitlin Clark was at the center of it all. She made clutch plays down the stretch. She hit big shots. She found open teammates. And the Fever won 90-82. It was their 3rd straight win. And it improved their record to 4-2, their best start through 6 games since 2012 the year they won the WNBA championship. Now, turnovers are still an issue for Clark. She had 6 of them against Golden State. That's too many. But here's the key. She didn't turn the ball over in crunch time. She took care of the ball when it mattered most, and that's what allowed the Fever to close out the win. Clark is still learning how to manage the ball better. She's still figuring out how to reduce mistakes. But even with 6 turnovers, she still found a way to dominate the game and break a WNBA record. That's what great players do. They impact winning even when they're not perfect. If you want breakdowns like this on Caitlin Clark and everything happening in the WNBA, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Now let me show you the other big story from Friday night that has fans talking. After the Fever's win over Golden State, Caitlin Clark and Raven Johnson shared a post-game handshake that immediately went viral. Double high fives, chest bumps in opposite directions, big smiles, genuine chemistry, and fans loved it. But here's why this moment matters so much. Because just a few years ago, the relationship between Caitlin Clark and Raven Johnson was one of the most controversial storylines in women's basketball. And now they're teammates. And they're proving that all the drama from the past is completely behind them. Let's rewind to the 2023 Final Four, Iowa versus South Carolina. Caitlin Clark and the Hawkeyes were facing the Gamecocks in the national semifinal, and during the game, there was a moment that exploded online. Clark waved off Raven Johnson on the perimeter. Johnson was guarding her, and Clark just waved her off, daring her to shoot, telling her she wasn't a threat from deep. The clip went viral instantly. It became one of the defining images of Clark's college career. And it became one of the most debated moments in women's basketball that year. Some people loved it. They said it was confident, competitive, alpha energy. Others hated it. They said it was disrespectful, arrogant, crossing the line. But for Raven Johnson, the fallout was brutal. She talked about it earlier this year. She said the backlash and online criticism tied to that moment nearly pushed her away from basketball entirely. People were clowning her, saying she couldn't shoot, saying Clark embarrassed her. And it got to the point where Johnson seriously considered quitting the sport. That's how bad it was. A single moment in a college game turned into a massive mental health challenge for a young player. And it all came from that one viral clip of Caitlin Clark waving her off. Fast forward to this year. The Indiana Fever drafted Raven Johnson, and suddenly she's teammates with Caitlin Clark. The same player who waved her off in the Final Four is now her teammate in the WNBA. And everyone was watching to see how that dynamic would play out. Would there be tension? Would it be awkward? Would they be able to move past the history? And the answer, based on Friday night, is absolutely yes. The handshake they shared after the win over Golden State looked natural, comfortable, genuine. It wasn't forced, it wasn't fake. It was 2 teammates celebrating a big win together. And the way they interacted showed that whatever people expected to be awkward simply doesn't exist inside the Fever locker room. And it makes sense. Caitlin Clark has been praising Raven Johnson all season. She's talked about Johnson's defensive energy, her toughness, her ability to pick up the ball high and disrupt offenses. Clark sees what Johnson brings to the team, and she values it. Meanwhile, Johnson has embraced her role next to one of the biggest stars in sports. She's bringing defensive intensity, she's accepting her role, and she's thriving. On Friday, Johnson scored 7 points. That's not a huge number, but her impact was bigger than the stat line. She played solid defense, she made winning plays, and her plus-minus was positive. She helped the Fever win, and that's what matters. But here's what really had fans talking. After the game, Raven Johnson jumped into the comments on social media and called Caitlin Clark Mamacita. Fans loved it. It showed that the relationship between them isn't just professional. It's genuine. They're not just teammates who tolerate each other, they actually like each other. They have chemistry, and that matters more than people realize. Because the Fever came into this season carrying enormous pressure. Pressure around Clark, expectations for immediate contention, non-stop national attention. Teams in those situations can fracture quickly if personalities don't mesh, but Indiana increasingly looks like a group that genuinely enjoys playing together, and the Clark-Johnson dynamic is proof of that. So the entire storyline has flipped. What was once one of the internet's favorite sources of controversy is now one of the WNBA's most unexpectedly wholesome teammate connections. Caitlin Clark and Raven Johnson have moved past the Final Four moment. They've built a real relationship, and they're helping the Fever win games together. That's a great story, and it's exactly what Indiana needed. Now let's talk about someone who's not having the same kind of success. Angel Reese. On Friday night, Reese and the Atlanta Dream played the Dallas Wings, and Reese had a decent game on the surface. 15 points, 9 rebounds, 7 for 11 shooting. Those are solid numbers, but there's a problem. And it's a problem Reese hasn't figured out how to fix. Turnovers. Reese had 5 turnovers against Dallas. 5. And she only had 2 assists. That's a brutal ratio for a forward who isn't running the offense all that often. It means she's giving the ball away more than she's creating for her teammates. And that's a massive problem, and here's the thing. Reese turns the ball over in every way possible. She travels, she throws it away, she commits offensive fouls. There's not just one issue, it's a comedy of errors. That's literally how the article described it, a comedy of errors. And while Reese's overall impact was still positive on Friday, the Dream were plus 12 in her 32 minutes. This is something that has to get cleaned up. Because when Reese makes her shots at an efficient rate, the turnovers matter less. But often she misses the majority of her shots. And when she combines that with a bunch of turnovers, it gives the opponent a major advantage. This is Reese's first season with the Atlanta Dream, so maybe she's still getting used to her new teammates. Maybe the chemistry will improve over time. But this also isn't a new issue. Reese has always had problems with ball control. She can get out of control. And in those moments, she loses possession of the basketball. The good news is that Reese is talented and skilled. She can keep getting better. Atlanta will hope that's true as far as protecting the ball is concerned, but right now, it's a glaring weakness. And it's the kind of thing that will keep her from reaching her full potential if she doesn't fix it. And here's the contrast. While Angel Reese is struggling with turnovers and inconsistency, Caitlin Clark is breaking WNBA records. Clark is putting up 20 points and 5 assists every single game. She's leading her team to wins. She's playing clutch basketball. She's building chemistry with her teammates. She's doing everything at an elite level. Reese had 5 turnovers in one game. Clark is breaking records that Hall of Famers never touched. The difference is stark. And it's a reminder of why Clark is on a completely different level right now. Caitlin Clark just broke a WNBA record that's never been done before. She's the first player in the league history to record 20 points and 5 assists in each of the first 5 games of a season. She did it on Friday night with 22 points and 9 assists in a win over the Valkyries. It's her 3rd straight win. The Fever are 4-2, their best start since 2012, and Clark is rewriting the history books. She's also building real chemistry with Raven Johnson. The viral handshake after Friday's game showed that the drama from the Final Four is completely behind them. They're teammates, they're friends, and they're helping the Fever win. Meanwhile, Angel Reese is still struggling with turnovers. 5 against Dallas, only 2 assists. It's a problem she hasn't fixed, and it's the kind of thing that separates good players from great ones. Caitlin Clark is breaking records. Angel Reese is turning the ball over. The difference couldn't be more clear. What do you think? Is Caitlin Clark the most dominant player in the WNBA right now? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest on Caitlin Clark and everything happening in the WNBA. We'll see you in the next one.